Hello everyone. So this is the time for me to have some confirmation about all my Alder Lake findings back from 2022 when I started building those machines and I started testing the motherboard, the b660. So this is a b660 MA Wi-Fi D4 from Asus Tech, a prime motherboard. So those are awful motherboards. And back then when I tested it, I found out that it was performing very, very, very low compared to the other boards on the b660 category. Like it was the worst out of them, along with the ASRock motherboard. So it was bottom tier performance, and I couldn't explain back then why that was happening, because back then I didn't know about clock stretching, and I didn't know about Gear 2, Gear 1 problems for RAM. I did that for 3000, around 3500, 3400. We are currently running at 3333 for the memory, as you can see. And yeah, it was kind of like back then it was all uncharted territory. But what happened now is that I back then I built this machine and I sold it to the client with a 12500. You can see from the logo, the Intel logo, original Intel logo. This 500 has the old Intel logo, and so it will probably work with the AVX 512 enabled. And this is H0 stepping, as you can see from the small capacitor footprint. So you can see this is small, right? I will now get a H0 die to compare. And this is H0, so the full 8+8 core for Alder Lake. This is 6 core performance only. So the machine came back now for a GPU upgrade. I had to put a 4070 Ti Super in it. Back then it was running with a Tesla M40 because it was the GPU shortage time, so we had to get whatever we could to make this machine work for a video editor. The customer is super happy about the machine already, but when I got it, I tried to run some tests, and like Cinebench was scoring 1700, and I tried to undervolt, and of course Cinebench would show like 1500, 1400, so I was getting awful scores as soon as I tried to undervolt, because I was running with this 12500 at the stock settings. So this machine at stock settings was slightly undervolting. So what I did, I swapped the CPU. I put a 12400F from this gaming b660 b760M from Gigabyte. So this is a H0 die. It was previously running stable at -140. On this motherboard, I can get it running only at -30 millivolts. So this motherboard is confirmed to give a lot less voltage than required to those CPUs in order to probably perform a little better, actually. Like they bake it in some kind of undervolt, and if I try to put -0.05, it will instantly crash probably. Let's see that. And so yeah, this all makes sense now, finally. And so I swapped the CPU in order to get the undervolt on this machine, because I also run on a stock cooler. So if I try to overvolt the 12500 to get a proper performance, I would actually get into a temperature limit. But with the 12400, yeah, here it is. It's crashed already. It doesn't get to the desktop with -1050 millivolts. So it made much sense to swap to the 12400 for this build, because it can run quieter, more efficient. And the 12500 can go in a build where with an MSI motherboard where I can use light load to undervolt it, and so everything is in its right place then, perfectly balanced. So yeah, I try to I'm undervolting also some other stuff, as you can see, slightly rolling the input voltage. These are my timings. This is Fury Renegade, and yeah, basically everything is almost stuck at the moment. I tried to lower some tertiary timings, but it wouldn't make much of a difference. And yeah, that's all for the video, I think. So B660M A prime. If you have this kind of motherboard, you have to check your stepping for the if you have an i5, and if you have a stepping H0, you could be having performance issues because of the voltage being too low. So you should definitely try to apply a slight positive offset overvolt, sorry, and maybe you will get the proper scores for example, Geekbench 6. Geekbench 6. You can check my scores here. So this is a proper score for a 12400F, while the average score for this CPU is much lower. You see, I'm getting like 10% better scores for the single core and 20% better for the multi-core. Well, I say yeah, 10 and 15. That's probably because some samples are actually suffering from clock stretching on this. So in order to see that, you have to open CPU-Z. And look at the stepping for your CPU. So if you have C0, that means that you should try to undervolt. If you have H0, that means that you could try to overvolt to get the perfect performance from your CPU. Yeah. Also, always make sure that your memory controller frequency is the same as your DRAM frequency, so you're running at gear 1 mode. If you are not, you have to find out which frequency you are stable at in gear 1. For my sample, it's 3,333 mega transfers, so 1,666 megahertz memory frequency. But you could have more luck and get maybe 1,700 as your frequency. It's up to you to test, and you have to find out yourself. And I guess that's all for the video. Ciao!